Now, you might have heard about the Banting Diet. You might have heard the name Professor Tim Noakes. So he has written books, The Law of Running, Running Injuries, How to Prevent and Overcome Them, Bob Woolman's Art and Science of Cricket, Waterlogged, The Serious Problem of Overhydration in Endurance Sports, The Real Meal Revolution, and on we go to a book called Raising Superheroes. And now we're going to find out more about what the low-carb, high-fat diet is all about. We have Professor Tim Noakes. Hello there, Prof.
Hi, thank you very much for sharing your time with me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your time with us. We do understand you are quite a busy man. We've seen you in the press lately, but it's not surprising, seeing as though nutrition is now, one of these contentious issues in the country. We have seen your trial. I only want to ask you one question about the trial, because I don't want to go into the specifics of that, because I believe that is going to be now postponed till February. Is that right?
That's correct, yes, till February the 7th.
Right. Now, this trial in itself, I want to know from you, do you see this as a legal hiccup personally for yourself, or does this trial hold more significance for South Africa and nutrition in the upcoming months and years after this trial is finished?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I had the opportunity to stop the trial because I could have deregistered from the Health Professionals Council because I don't practice medicine. I haven't practiced medicine for 15 years. And I wasn't prepared to do that because I believe the message is so powerful that I want my time in court. And so when eventually I get a chance to speak, I will be speaking for a prolonged period on the way we think nutrition has got wrong in the last 50 years, why we think obesity and diabetes has become epidemic in all countries around the world, and especially in South Africa, and what we can do about it. And I think one of the moments that I really enjoyed in the trial so far was the cross-examination of the expert witness who developed the guidelines for South Africa, the eating guidelines. And she was asked by Dr. Rocky Ramdas, my attorney, he said, the dietary guidelines you produced in 2002 and 2013, they actually didn't change. They were exactly the same, except for one minor change on alcohol. But he said, but what's happened with diabetes and obesity in the past 10 years? It's gone out of control. Yeah,
we've become one of the biggest countries in terms of obesity. We're like in the top 3, basically.
Correct. So he said, what in the guidelines has addressed that? So she said, nothing. And that's the issue. How can you have guidelines that don't address the real issues? And I think that's my point. As a person with type 2 diabetes, I understand exactly how I got the disease. I live with it on a daily basis. I understand exactly why I got it. I understand exactly what you need to do to reverse it. And we're just not doing anything about it. And that is, in a sense, why I've invested so much of my money and so much of my time, and also my 2 senior lawyers who have given their money, their time without cost. That's why we've done it, because we believe this is such an important moment in South African nutrition history.
So it's going to have long-reaching effects into the future of South African nutrition.
Well, I hope so, because we have to do something.
Okay, perfect.
We can't keep our heads under in the sand.
Yeah.
Someone eventually got to say, actually, we do have a problem, and doing the same thing repeatedly does not bring you a different result.
But how do we affect this in, say, the tertiary level as well? Because we have people who study dietetics and nutrition. They also don't have a lot of good things to say about Banting. How are we going to change the stigma in South Africa, including the education side of the Banting diet?
Well, I think what the case has proven so far is that there's not an openness to see all the evidence. That's the key.
Yeah.
And one of the points I make is that, everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion, but no one is entitled to his or her own set of facts. You have to see all the facts. If you don't see all the facts, you're not being an academic. And what I will do is I will present all the facts. And I will say, I may not be 100% correct, but at least I've looked at all the evidence. And the nutrition evidence goes back 3 million years. It doesn't start in 1977, which is what we teach in dietetics and nutrition in the medical schools across South Africa in the dietetics departments. We teach a nutrition that begins in 1977. We completely ignore the whole history of human evolution, all the evidence we have from paleoanthropology, which South Africa is a major nation in bringing the ideas of how humans evolved. And we just, it's like it didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting thing that you bring up there, because we have this whole, the world started here, cradle of humankind type of thing, and now we don't look at the facts. But I mean, the facts that are even being put out internationally in terms of the World Health Organization's report that people are trying to discredit now in terms of, meats becoming carcinogenic. I mean, is it on an international scale now that it also is trying to be swept under the rug, and they're trying to make sure that this diet doesn't come to fruition?
Oh, well, I think that's very clear. For example, one of the things I'm really proud of is an article I wrote with the cardiologist, Dr. Sim Allatra.
Yes.
In about March, April, we published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine, and it said you can't outrun a bad diet. And the key was that physical activity will not prevent you from gaining weight or becoming sick if you're eating a bad diet.
Yes.
And we expose Coca-Cola as presenting the argument that as long as you're eating a moderate diet, you can have your Coke and you can have your chips and you can have all the bad stuff as long as you eat in moderation. Well, that is nonsense. As long as you exercise, it's absolute nonsense.
Yes.
Our article went global. It was on the front page of most of the major newspapers around the world. And about 3 months ago, Coca-Cola came forward and they had to expose all the scientists that they'd been funding.
Wow.
And all the organizations, because it was so embarrassing for them. And they had an organization which they were funding where they had 3 of the top scientists in America who promote physical activity as being very good for you. They had to expose that they were funding these guys specifically to get the message out that it's not the diet that's killing us, it's exercise. And we've exposed them. Embarrassed them. And that's the key. You see, this is, we don't know the extent to which money influences the World Health Organization. All we know is that 2 or 3 years ago, they were bailed out by the sugar industry.
Right.
Yeah, and so I'm not suggesting that this is all a conspiracy theory, because it doesn't interest me. I just have to present the facts about what is good nutrition, and when we present that, the argument, in my view, is very clear.
How much more do you think we need to do before people actually, consider the opinion of Banters? Because, I mean, now, even with certain scientific research, I mean, do they need another 20, do they need another 30 years before they finally go, okay, look, now there's 2 opinions on the spectrum, because all they're seeing is the one opinion now?
Yeah. That's a brilliant question. Now, in the past, it takes 20 or 30 years for things to change. And that's because the people who don't want change are so powerful, and they're sending out this different message, which is orchestrated. You have to understand that.
Right.
The contrary message, it is orchestrated that they will confuse the public. The problem is that with this diet, if you're sick and unwell and you change it, within a week you start to feel better, and within a few months, all your blood values start to improve. You lose the weight, you feel so much better, you've got so much energy.
And the claims are brain function is even heightened as well.
Exactly, and you can't hide that, you see. So now because the diet works, and because we have social media, and because we have so many people active on social media saying, gosh, I improved my health on this diet, that you can't stop. I've called that the virus of culinary intercourse.
Okay.
You can't stop the virus of culinary intercourse.
Right.
It's taking the world over. And I'm so glad that you're phoning from Pretoria, because here I'm sitting at the tip of Africa in Cape Town.
How's the weather there?
It's actually a brilliant day. Thank you very much. And the point is that it started here. 2 years ago, Cape Town didn't know what banting was. They had no clue.
Exactly.
Now everyone in Cape Town knows what banting is, and the restaurants have gone this way, and it's in the media. And so we've started something that can't be denied. It's going to take the whole of South Africa.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the rollout, like you say, I mean, Cape Town, there are restaurants in Cape Town, there are restaurants in Joburg. I think Pretoria is lagging behind this whole thing of saying, look, we're going to see it as a business opportunity in the long run and start introducing certain, banting options. And there are a lot of success stories coming out in terms of people saying, well, I enjoyed it. I did well on it. It was for me. And there was another faction of people saying, you know what, it's not for me. It's not the best thing. You have a book out now. It's called Raising Superheroes. I want to get through to you in terms of how important it is for young people to, maintain a healthy diet. And do you think that this low-carb, high-fat diet is a diet that could apply to, say, children, people in high school, people in university? Should we be changing our universities up?
Thank you very much, because this is a question that I often ask by UCT students.
Right.
And exactly that, right. Exactly that. They come to university, they start eating a lot of carbohydrates because that's all they're provided with in the university residences. And I said that they should lead a revolt and catering must fall is what they need to do.
Right.
So the reality is that if you're what we call insulin resistant, as many of us are, once you start eating more carbohydrates, you just have to put on weight. There is no other way out. And so that's essentially what's happening. We start to eat too much carbohydrate. We raise our blood insulin concentrations every time you eat carbohydrates. They compound the insulin resistance, and you just start to get fatter and fatter and fatter, and you crave carbohydrates, so you eat more and more carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And you also have to understand that sugar is highly addictive, and for some of us, it is so addictive that we then start to want to eat it every 3 hours.
For sure.
As we would any drug. And people haven't connected the sugar addiction to the drive to eat carbohydrates. So that's what happens. And so then we get obesity, and so it's not difficult to explain.
Once you get to goal weight, say you've been on LCHF, once you get to goal weight, do you keep going on, or could you potentially carb cycle to some sort of degree?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I think it gets to the point that the Banting diet is a lifestyle. It's not a diet.
Yeah.
You have to buy in because genetically, if the Banting diet works well for you, it's because your genes make you more insulin resistant.
Right.
And that insulin resistance is going to be there for life. Now, this contradicts exactly what we're taught at medical school. We're taught at medical school that you get lazy and you eat too much, you get gluttonous, and you put on weight. And as you put on weight, you become insulin resistant, and then you become diabetic. That is nonsense. You are insulin resistant to varying degrees, either a lot like I was or am, or very little. And you start to eat the carbohydrates, and they compound the insulin resistance. And once you've developed a degree of insulin resistance, you can't take too much carbohydrate. And so that is why the low-carb diet, it's not one prescription. There's a range. We say from 25 to 200 grams of carbohydrate a day. For example, if you're an elite athlete and you're very lean and you're competing in tough endurance-type activity or explosive sport like you're a brilliant athlete, some of those guys will do very well on 200 grams of carbs a day, but they don't need 400, but that's what they're eating. They're eating 400 grams.
Yeah, they're doing double.
Yeah, I must tell you that I had breakfast with the number one rugby player in the world, by many accounts, David Pocock.
All right.
I had breakfast with him yesterday morning because he's on Banting and he's benefited hugely, and it was I who put him on the diet.
Wow.
Yeah,
So...
and I hope all the speakers, all the great athletes will listen to this.
Yes, and go on to it.
And he said to me that the Australians are looking at him, the guys, the Wallabies are looking at him and saying,
Yeah.
is this guy mad? Or what he said.
No, I mean, I've heard about Novak Djokovic even being on, a low-carb, high-fat diet. So, I mean, in terms of athleticism, you think it's the quintessential diet to be put on?
Well, again, I'm not going to claim that. But
Yes.
if you are insulin resistant, it is definitely the right diet. And so David said to me, he said, the guys look at me, and who are the guys who are eating the most carbohydrates? Guess what? It's the props. It's the props on the Wallaby team. And he said they're eating 500 grams a day. Now, there is no way a rugby player needs 500 grams of carbohydrates a day. All it's doing is making them fat. And, okay, maybe they need a bit of weight, but they've got the wrong type of weight. They want muscle. They don't want the fat that they're carrying
Yeah, but
around.
don't they also advertise for fast food restaurants sometimes? So, I mean, don't they say one thing and they mean another? They're on the diet, but they lend themselves to advertising that makes people go out and buy carbs.
Absolutely, and the sports drinks are a big one.
Exactly.
I think, most teams are moving away from taking sugary sports drinks,
Right.
but yet they're still funded by them, so they will continue to advertise them.
I have one last question for you, Professor Tim Noakes, and it's been a privilege to speak to you today to find out what's been happening. And I know there are a lot of supporters, and I know there are a lot of denialists. We'll see where this lands up. But my one question is, and I'm pretty sure Suzelle DIY tried to get you to eat one of these cook sisters, but I want you to tell me now, do you cheat at all? And if you do, and if you don't, what is your favorite dream cheat meal?
Thank you very much for that question, because I want to tell you that because I have type 2 diabetes,
Yes.
for 5 years I've been absolutely strict. I have not had any sugar for the last 4 years. It took me a year to get out of my sugar addiction.
Wow.
For the last 4 years, I've had no chocolates, no sweets, no desserts, no sugary drinks, absolutely nothing.
Right.
And that I'll go to my grave and tell you that is the absolute truth. And anyone who sees me knows it.
Yes.
I've eaten nothing. I've eaten nothing sweet
Wow.
for the past 5 years.
Your diaries better not be published and we see something there going like, I wish I had ice cream this entire time.
Yeah. No, in fact, I feel sick when I eat anything that's sweet now.
Yeah, as the Banting Diet does,
Yeah. So, and the beauty is, it looks like diabetes is completely under control. It's almost as if I've reversed my diabetes. I'm off my diabetic medication. I am still taking complementary medicine, which is very effective, but my control is unbelievable. To me, it's a miracle.
So there's no cheating whatsoever.
Yeah.
This is insane.
I did it because I didn't cheat once.
But Prof, I can't stay away from nougat. You know those Damascus nougats? I just can't stay away. I just can't do it. But Professor Tim Noakes, thanks for talking to us, and thank you for giving your side of it.
My privilege. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, have a good day further.
Thank you.
Cheers, bye bye.